we've been living here for 20 years now. It's Springlea in Deanscales. We don't know the exact age of the house. There's no date stone on the house like there is in some villages. But the house is so very, very similar to our neighbours next door. Its style and the way the windows are dressed and the layout of the building. It's almost a twin of next door's house, and they reckon their house is 1768. They found the half sovereign on the ridge beam when they restored the roof in there. So it's a little bit of a guess, but we think our house is about 1760, 1770. It was a small working farm. I think the house came with about 10 or 12 acres out front, so it was a working small holding. And then next door to the house, the remains of two agricultural labourers' cottages. The whole house is kind of one unit now, but it has been a small working farm with attached to it two one-up, one-down cottages. When we took the house on 20 years ago, it hadn't been lived in for about 5 years, so the house wasn't derelict, but it was in pretty poor state of repair, especially the two farm labourers' cottages. I make my living as a basket maker, so one of the reasons we bought this house was to have that into the house as workshop space. So once we'd got the house livable, we turned our attention to the two former cottages to make them into workshop space. It just had a beaten earth floor in there, and because I work with wet willow all the time, although I wanted to keep it historically as it was just getting muddy all the time. So we decided to dig down the floor and relay it with flags. So the first job we did was to kind of start digging the floor up, and the plaster on the walls was hanging off because the roof had been off for so long. The original lime plaster was kind of needing, not all of it taken off, but we were hacking away into the plaster. I think the first thing we found was the only stone in the floor, the beaten earth floor, the only stone in there was the hearth stone in the fireplace. The fireplace was bricked up, so we opened the fireplace up and it was full of dust and muck and rubble, and a hearthstone that sat there. And to relay the floor, we thought, well, we've got to lift the hearthstone and put it back because the levels are all changing. So me and George pranged up the hearthstone with a couple of crowbars, and we found bones underneath it. So there was a kind of shock horror moment when we saw this little cluster of bones. It was a cat. It was a cat skeleton lying there. So there was a kind of moment where we both thought, oh no, the cat's kind of fallen down the chimney at some point and died in there a horrible death. But I thought, oh no, it's lying under a flagstone, so it wouldn't have got itself under there. So we took it out, we put it in a little plastic tray. Oh, I think we wanted to find out what it was to start with. I think the skull, it was buried in sort of loose soil, so we kind of did a little bit of a lift of the thing. And once we found the skull, it was fairly obvious it wasn't a rabbit or that we were dealing with a cat. So we just put all the bones together and scraped and scratched around and dug down a little bit deeper and put them all back. I don't think we arranged it in the shape of a cat. Well, it did seem to be lying there in the shape of a cat, so I think the cat was put in there as a whole body. You could almost see, but we didn't put it, we got a bit muddled up, so it kind of went in as a little heap in a hole. I think we got everything back in, but yeah, so we didn't leave it untouched, we did take it out and drop it in again, so we did a little bit, it was kind of thought it had been placed there, and George thought it might have been put there as to keep, he'd come across this before, to keep the idea of burying a cat skeleton to keep a house rodent free. And there's never been a mouse in there, although the buildings, we've never seen rodents in here. So I thought, well, the piece maybe worked. So when we relaid the floor, we just kind of put it all back again. Because it seemed to be the right thing to do, I think, just to been there for 200 years plus maybe, I don't know. So it just seemed right to put its little skeleton back when we buried it. And the interesting thing, that was probably 15 years ago, and we've still never had a mouse in there, so we're still convinced it works. A little bit of shock really. I thought, oh God, we found a body, is this going to hold up the works? Yeah, just a little bit of bone sticking out. We kind of looked at each other, but they were tiny, so that didn't last very long. And then curiosity, really. And I think we did that awful sinking feeling momentarily that a cat had been bricked up in there. This horror moment. I thought, oh gosh, you know, we've uncovered the scene of a horrible death here, but it didn't take much working out to realise with the way it wasn't under a stone that wasn't the story. And we thought, is it a family pet? You know, that's the sort of thing we'd do with our cat. We could bury it somewhere. But the fact under a fireplace just seemed, you know, I think over coffee break, then we're thinking, well, did that go in when the house was built? Was that put in very early doors, or at some point when the fireplace has been fiddled with? But it just seemed a very odd thing to do. You know, we couldn't quite bottom out why there would be a cat deliberately buried in a fireplace in an old house. So it was just curiosity after that. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Well, I guess the choices would have been, you know, throw it in the bin. Well, we had cats around, they just didn't seem right to, you know, it's something being either buried there or placed, and I guess it was kind of out of respect for what had been done with it originally, I think. If it was somebody's family pet, then it kind of should stay there. And if somebody had placed it there for other reasons, again, I just kind of felt, who are we to kind of disrupt that? I don't think we had any feelings that we'd have a bad curse on us or anything like that. It just felt, I think to both of us, it just felt the right thing to do, to put the thing back. Yeah. We're taking the plaster off that same wall. Again, they'd been bricked up, but on the left of the fireplace, a little square alcove opened up behind the plaster, and a larger one on the right. And inside that was, I think we broke it actually when we knocked the plaster in, but it was one of the salt crock. It was one of those sort of set into the plaster in the wall in an alcove, with one of these sort of built in. I think we smashed the top. I think it was there, you know, when we broke in, but you could reach your hand in, and we got out the fragments of the pot we broke, but that was full of dust and muck and rubble. And inside was a lovely old, not crystal glass, but a very old, well, we think it was a very old, thick-walled, gobletty glass with a round base and a stem, and a very plain, not fancy, not cut glass, but thick old glass, and it was broken stem, and that was laid inside the pot. And a broken clay pipe, both bits of a clay pipe, sat in there, and a pair of old glasses, broken, and they were all sat in. Well, I think we'd broken it using the plaster dust, and whether there'd been anything else in there, there's just all very crumbly, limey dust. So, yeah, so that all went back in. And we made the alcove just into a show you when we go out there, but we've not kept it as a salt hole, we've just kept it as a little cupboard space. But underneath the base of that cupboard is the remains of the salt crock, and the broken glass and the bits and bobs went back in, because that felt the right thing to do as well. You don't know what to do with them, it's a broken glass, but you can't just stop it in the bin, can you? I don't know, we couldn't, you just kind of put them back in there. Until we just recently, this year, started work on the old building in the field, which is a single-storey barn where I store my willow. It flooded several times, so this year we decided to dig the floor up in there and do a similar thing, put in a damp-proof course and try and get that watertight. Well, I think this little building is quite old as well. There used to be, I think the village used to have a wool processing factory, and the shed here apparently was the dyeing sheds. And we did have a guy out from the national park to come and have a look, and he said when a building's on great big cobbles like that, it's usually a sign it's medieval. So he thinks this is kind of older still, but that's just based on the cobbles. The old end of the building was here. The line comes down where the end of the building was, and it's this stretch where the cobbles are, so that's probably newer, that side. The foundation's very different, much more restrained, but this section of the building, same on the other side, it's on these massive boulders that run right through the width of the wall. But this time when we dug the floor, I was looking, we dug 2 hearthstones up and found nothing. We've dug 2 rooms of cobble floor up, 3 layers of cobble floors going down, found nothing. A couple of bits of broken part, but hardly anything. You know, tons and tons of stuff have come out. And almost towards the end, just in the far corner of the far room, right in the corner of the room, another broken glass, a stem there and the top and broken, placed right in the corner of the room. That's the only thing we really found in the whole, apart from mud and cobbles. So again, it wasn't as placed as the other things, but just the very fact it was there and right in the corner. So we've kept that, because I think we found that just before we sort of made contact with yourself, so rather than bury it straight away. I photographed it and sent it, and I've got it there to show you. We've kept that out, but it's going to go back. But we don't quite know yet where. We've just lifted the doorway up today, and I don't know whether to put it just back in the same corner, exactly where we found it, which probably seems the right thing to do, or to put it in the entranceway. I don't know. I'm trying to think what these people, I'm trying to kind of put myself in the mind of the people that did this really, and whether I assume they kind of deliberately broke something, and you get the feeling it had to be something of value to you rather than just something. And so I don't know whether to go in and break a mug we don't like, but that doesn't seem the right thing to do, getting rid of something you want rid of. It's almost got to be something of meaning or of value, so I don't really want to do that because we've got nice pots. So I'm kind of in this dilemma now. Do I break something without being stupid or not? So, but I probably will. Yeah, I'll find something we don't like too much. I mean, that's maybe we're disappointed we've not found a date on any of this. We're just kind of guessing when all this happened. So I think to drop a coin in there, yeah, maybe I'll get a nice shiny new £2 coin and maybe lob it in here and with the glass, maybe put it in the glass or something. For the next lot of idiots who come along and wonder about these things and what got done in 2016, it might just give them something to peruse about, might it? So it's a slight amusement factor of doing that, not just we might put something very odd in there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll maybe work on that. Yeah, just something of now. Maybe break my iPad, throw that in. No.